Shri Guru Shri Adwaita Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sa Shri Rupam Sankrajatam Sanganara Tambitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shikambitam Scha Om Magyana Timananda Sha Yanachana Shalakaya Shakshura Militam Yana Tasma Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurakam Garganara Sesha Sambhoshitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Vedanibanam Shri Rupa Patanagam Govindam Vidam Uchwatam Bharatanam Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Vande Vishwagurun Shah Divyad Bhagavat Prem Noe Vijay Pranam Devam Divyatanam Suchanda Varanam Balarka Chelanshikam Sundrananda Puram Sareka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Vandetam Shubhadam Mareka Sharanam Yashishwara Sridharam Vanchakopatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahamananyaya Krishna Prema Pranayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. This is the Adi-lila chapter 6, the glories of Sri Adwaita Acharya. We'll start with verse number 40. Mahavendra Puriri ho Sishya Egyane Acharya Gosaire Prabhu Guru Kori Mane. Thinking that he, Sri Adwaita Acharya, is the disciple of Sri Mahavendra Puri, Lord Chaitanya obeys him, respecting him as his spiritual master. Sri Mahavendra Puri is one of the acharyas in the disciplic succession from Madhvacharya. Mahavendra Puri had two principal disciples, Ishwara Puri and Sri Adwaita Prabhu. Therefore, the Sri Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, or the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, is a disciplic succession from Madhvacharya. This fact has been accepted in the authorized books known as Guru Ganadesha Deepika and Prameya Ratnavali, as well as by Gopal Guru Goswami. The Guru Ganadesha Deepika clearly states the disciplic succession of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas as follows. Lord Brahma is the direct disciple of Vishnu, the Lord of the spiritual sky. His disciple is Narada. Narada's disciple is Vyasa, and Vyasa's disciples are Sukadeva Goswami and Madhvacharya. Padmanabhacharya is the disciple of Madhvacharya, and Narahari is the disciple of Padmanabha Acharya. Madhava is the disciple of Narahari. Akshobhya is the direct disciple of Madhava, and Jayatirtha is the disciple of Akshobhya. Jayatirtha's disciple is Jnanasindhu, and his disciple is Mahanidhi. Vidyanidhi is the disciple of Mahanidhi, and Rajendra is the disciple of Vidyanidhi. Jayadharma is the disciple of Rajendra. Purushottama is the disciple of Jayadharma. Sriman Lakshmipati is the disciple of Vyasatirtha, who is the disciple of Purushottama, and Mahavendra Puri is the disciple of Lakshmipati. Lokika Lilate Dharmam Maryada Rakan Stuti Bhakti Korana Tara Charana Bandhan. To maintain the proper etiquette for the principles of religion, Lord Chaitanya bows down at the lotus feet of Sri Adwaita Acharya with reverential prayers with devotion. So maintaining the proper Vaishnava etiquette is called Dharma Maryada Rakan, which is maintaining the proper Vaishnava etiquette. Chaitanya Gosai Acharya Kor Chaitanya Gosai ke Acharya Kore Prabhu Gyan Apana ke Koran Dharan Dasha Abhiman. Sri Adwaita Acharya, however, considers considers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu his master, and he thinks of himself as a servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami explains the super excellent quality of devotional service as follows. Brahmanando Bhavad Esha Ched Pararda Guni Krita No Naiti Bhakti Shukam Bodhe Brahmanda Bhavad Esha Ched Pararda Guni Krita Naiti Bhakti Shukam Bodhe Paramanu Tulamapi. If multiplied billions of times, the transcendental pleasure derived from impersonal Brahman realization still could not compare to even an atomic particle of the ocean of bhakti or transcendental love. Similarly, the Bhavarta Deepika states, Chaitanyamrita patoldo viharanto mahamunaha kurvanti Kritina Kechik Chatur Bhargam Trinopamam. For those who take pleasure in the transcendental topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the four progressive realizations of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, which is Dharmartha Kama Moksha. The four progressive realizations of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation all combined together cannot compare any more than a straw could to the happiness derived from hearing about the transcendental activities of the Lord. Any more than a straw could compare to the happiness derived from hearing about the transcendental activities of the Lord. Those who engage in the transcendental service of the lotus feet of Krishna, being relieved of all material enjoyment, have no attraction to topics of impersonal monism. In the Padma Purana, in connection with the glorification of the month of Kartik, it is stated that devotees pray, Varam Deva Moksham Na Mokshabhadiva Nachanyam Praneham Vareshadapiya Idam Teva Purnata Gopala Balam Sada Me Manasi Avirashtam Kim Anyai Kuverat Majo Vara Murtyai Vadyadvat Tvaya Mochito Bhakti Bhajo Kritocha Tata Prema Bhaktim Sakame Prayacha Namokshe Grahome Sti Damodareha. Dear Lord, always remembering, that's from the Damodar Ashtakam. Dear Lord, always remembering your childhood pastimes at Vrindavan is better for us than aspiring to merge in the impersonal Brahman. During your childhood pastimes, you liberated the two sons of Kuvera and made them great devotees of your lordship. Similarly, I wish that instead of giving me liberation, you may award me such devotion unto you. In the Hayashirsha Sri Narayana Vyuhastava, in the chapter called Narayana Stotra, this said, Nadharmam kamam artam va moksham va vara deshvara prartaye tava parabje dashyam eva bikamaye. My dear Lord, I do not wish to become a man of religion or a master of economic development or sense gratification, nor do I wish for liberation. Although I can have all these from you, the supreme bestower of benedictions, I do not pray for any of these. I simply pray that I may always be engaged as a servant of your lotus feet. Nishingadev offered Prahlad Maharaj all kinds of benedictions, but Prahlad Maharaj did not accept any of them, for he simply wanted to engage in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, a pure devotee wishes to be blessed like Maharaj Prahlad by being thus endowed with devotional service. Devotees also offer their respects to Hanuman, who always remained a servant of Lord Rama. The great devotee Hanuman prayed, Bhavabad Bhavabandha Chide Tashyai Spriha Yamina Muktaye Bhavan Prabhur Aham Dasha Iti Yatra Vilupyate. I do not wish to take liberation or to merge in the Brahmana effulgence where the conception of being a servant of the Lord is completely lost. Similarly, in the Narada Pancharatra, it is stated, Dharmartha Kamo Moksheshu Necha Mama Kadachana Tvatpara Pankajash Yadu Jivitam Diyatam Mama. I do not want any one of the four desirable stations. I simply want to engage as a servant of the lotus feet of the Lord. King Kula Shekhar, in his very famous book, Mukunda Mala Stotra, prays, Naham Vande Tavad Shananayor Dvandvam Advanda Keto Kutumbimok Pakam Gurum Api Hare Narakam Nape Name Nitum Ramya Rama Mridu Tanu Lata Nandaye Navirantam Bhave Bhave Ridaye Bhavane Bhavayeham Bhavantam. My Lord, I do not worship you. I do not worship you to be liberated from this material entanglement, nor do I wish to save myself from the hellish condition of material existence, nor do I ever pray for a beautiful wife to enjoy in a nice garden. I wish only that I may always be in full ecstasy with the pleasure of serving your Lordship. In Srimad Bhagavatam also, there are many instances in the third and fourth cantos in which devotees pray to the Lord simply to be engaged in his service and nothing else. So what we're reading now is from Adi 6, the glories of Sri Adwaita Acharya. And here it is mentioned, all this is in the purport of how, because Adwaita Acharya was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, who's the, we could say the god brother, Madhavendra Puri, who is the spiritual master of Ishwara Puri, then Mahaprabhu respected Adwaita Acharya as, Madhavendra Puri, and his disciple is Ishwara Puri, and his disciple is also Adwaita Acharya. So then Mahaprabhu is considering Adwaita Acharya like Guru Tattva, like the god brother of his guru. So he's always respecting him. But Adwaita Acharya knows that Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord, so he doesn't appreciate the respect that the Lord's giving him. Say, Abhimana Sute Apana Pasare Krishnadasya Hau Jive Upadesha Kore. He forgets himself in the joy of that conception and teaches all living entities. You are servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's Adwaita Acharya's conception, that everyone is a servant of Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu is respecting him as a superior. The transcendental devotional service of the Supreme Personality of God is so ecstatic that even the Lord himself plays a part of a devotee. Forgetting himself to be the Supreme, he personally teaches us, the whole world, he personally teaches the whole world how to render service to the Supreme Personality of God. Now this is a reference to Adwaita Acharya. Adwaita Acharya is an incarnation of Maha-Vishnu. So he is the Lord himself, but his mood is that he's a servant of the Lord. You are servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishnadasa Abhimane Jayananda Sindhu Koti Brahma Sukha Nahe Tara Ekmindu. The conception of servitude to Sri Krishna generates such an ocean of joy in the soul that even the joy of oneness with the Absolute, if multiplied 10 million times, could not compare to a drop of it. Mui Jai Chaitanya Dasha Aranityananda Dasha Baba Samanahe Adyatra Ananda. Adwaita Acharya says, Nityananda and I are servants of Lord Chaitanya. Nowhere else is there such joy as that which is tasted in this emotion of servitude. Parama Prayasi Lakmi Hridaye Basati Tehodasha Sukamage Korea Minati. The most beloved goddess of fortune resides on the chest of Sri Krishna, yet she too, earnestly praying, begs for the joy of service at his feet. Dashabhabe and Andita Parishad Gan, Bidi Baba, Narada Ara, Sukha, Sanatan. All the associates of Lord Krishna, such as Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Shuka, and Sanatan Kumar, are very pleased in the sentiment of servitude. Nityananda Vadut Sabate Agala Chaitanya Radasha Preme Hawal Hoila Bagal. Nityananda Vadut Sabate Agal Chaitanya Radasha Preme Hoila Bagal. Sri Nityananda, the wandering mendicant, is the foremost of all the associates of Lord Chaitanya. He became mad in ecstasy of service to Lord Chaitanya. Srivas Haridas Ramadasa Gadadhar Murari Mukunda Chandrasekhar Bhakreshwar Esa Pandita Lok Parama Mahatva Chaitanya Radashe Savai Koraye Unmata. Srivas Haridas Ramadas Gadadhar Murari Mukunda Chandrasekhar and Bhakreshwar are all glorious and are all learned scholars, but the sentiment of servitude to Lord Chaitanya makes them mad in ecstasy. Ematagai nache kore atahas loke uvareshe how Chaitanya Radas. Thus they dance, sing, and laugh like madmen, and they instruct everyone, just be loving servants of Lord Chaitanya. Chaitanya Gosai more kore Guru Gyan Tatapiya Mora Hashi Tatapiya Mora Hoy Dasha Abhiman. Sri Adwaita Acharya thinks Lord Chaitanya considers me his spiritual master, yet I feel myself to be only his servant. Krishna Primare Ek Apurva Prabhav Guru Sama Lagu Ke Koraya Dashabhav. Love for Krishna has this one unique effect. It imbues superiors, equals, and inferiors with the spirit of service to Lord Krishna. There are two kinds of devotional service, the way of Pancharatrika regulative principles and the way of Bhagavata and the way of Bhagavat transcendental loving service. The love of Godhead of those engaged in Pancharatrika regulative principles depends more or less on the opulent and reverential platform. But the worship of Radha and Krishna is purely on the platform of transcendental love. Even persons who play as the superiors of Krishna also take the chance to offer transcendental loving service to the Lord. The service attitude of the devotees who play the parts of superiors of the Lord is very difficult to understand, but it can be very plainly understood in connection with the super excellence of their particular service to Lord Krishna. A vivid example is the service of Mother Yashoda to Krishna, which is distinct in the feature of Narayan. The Lord can accept services only from his associates who play parts in which they are equal to or less than him. But in the feature of Lord Krishna, he accepts service very plainly from his fathers, teachers, and other elders who are his superiors, as well as from his equals and his subordinates. This is very wonderful. So the mood of service to the Lord with on reverence, that's Aishvarya Gyan, and that's the mood of Vaikuntha. But the mood of service to Krishna and also to Mahaprabhu is done more on the platform of Ragmarg. But that platform, we cannot pretend that we're on that platform artificially. That is our worshipable ideal. Our worshipable ideal is not Vaikuntha worship. Our worshipable ideal is a worship of Radha and Krishna. So we see Rag Marg is our ideal, but not, we don't pretend artificially that we're on that platform.
What's Rag Marg?
Spontaneous attraction to the Lord. One is worshiping the Lord not as a matter of duty or as a matter of command, but one is worshiping the Lord out of intense love. But that is not the position of those who are yet still under the rules and regulations, not the position of those who still have so many material desires in their heart. But that's our ideal, but we don't artificially pretend we're on that platform. Yara Pramana Shuna Shastrara Vyakya and Mahan Anubhava Jate Sudrida Brahman. For evidence, please listen to the examples described in the revealed scriptures, which are corroborated by the realization of great souls. Anjara Kata Braje Nanda Mahashai Tarasama Guru Krishna Arake Honoi Shuddha Vatsalya Ishwara Jnana Nahitar Dahake Preme Karaya Dasha Anukar. Although no one is more respected, no one is a more respected elder for Krishna than Nanda Maharaj and Braja, who in transcendental paternal love has no knowledge that his son is the Supreme Personality of God, and still ecstatic love makes him, what to speak of others, feel himself to be a servant of Lord Krishna, even Krishna's father. And he has no idea that Krishna is the Lord. He doesn't think in that way, but he still considers himself a servant of Lord Krishna. Deho Rati Mati Mage Krishnara Charane Tahara Shri Mukha Vani Tahate Brahmane. He too prays for attachment and devotion to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, as the words from his own mouth give evidence. Shuna Udava Satya Krishna Amaratanoi Teho Ishvara Hina Jari Tomara Mane Loi Tatape Tahate Rahu Mora Mano Vritti Tomare Ishvara Krishna Hauk Moramati. My dear Uddhava, please hear me. In truth, Krishna is my son. But even if you think that he is God, I will still bear toward him my own feelings for my son. May my mind be attached to your Lord Krishna. Manaso Vidaya Nashu Krishna Param Bhuja Shraya. Manaso Vidaya Nashu Krishna Param Bhuja Shraya. Vacho Vidha Yenir Nam Nam Kayas Tat Prabhanadishu. May our minds be attached to the lotus feet of your Lord Krishna. May our tongues chant his holy names. And may our bodies lie prostrate before him. So Uddhava is telling them that Krishna is God. And they said, okay, even if he's God, even if we don't think of him as God, still we pray for attachment always to his lotus feet and to be able to serve him. Not out of a duty not as a sense of duty, but out of love, without even thinking of Krishna as God. Karma vir Brahm Jamanam Yatra Pishpa Rechaya Mangala Charitar Danai Ratirna Krishna Ishvare Karma Vir Brahmyamanam Yatra Pishparechaya Mangala Charitai Danai Ratirna Krishna Ishvare. Wherever we wander in the material universe, under the influence of karma, by the will of the Lord, may our auspicious activities cause our attraction to Lord Krishna to increase. These verses from Srimad Bhagavatam were spoken by the denizens of Vrindavan, headed by Maharaj Nanda, and his associates to Uddhava, who had come from Mathura. Sridamadi Braje Yata Sukara Nichai Aishvarya Gyanhina Kevala Sakyamoy Lord Krishna's friends in Vrindavan, headed by Sri Ram, have pure fraternal affection for Lord Krishna and have no idea of his opulences. So this is Krishna's friends, and they don't think of him as God. They have no idea of Krishna being the Lord. Krishna Sange Yura Kore Skande Arohan Tarana Shabave Kore Charana Sevan. Although they fight with him and climb upon his shoulders, they worship his lotus feet in a spirit of servitude. Para Sambha Hanam Chakru Kechitasya Mahatmanaha Apare Hatra Papmano Gyajanai Samabhijayan. Some of the friends of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, had massaged his feet, and others whose sinful reactions had been destroyed fanned him with handheld fans. This verse, quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, describes how Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram were playing with the cowherd boys after killing Dhenukasura in Talavan. Krishna Priya se Braje Jata Gopigan Jaharapara Duli Kore Udara Prartan Jan Sabara Upare Krishnara Priya Nahiyan Tahara Apana Ke Kore Dashe Abhiman. So they're fanning Krishna and they're massaging his feet, but they're not thinking of Krishna as God. But they just played with him, and he had killed Dhenukasura in Talavan. Dhenukasura, Talavan is where all the palm trees are growing with fruits in them, and Dhenukasura came as an ass, with all his ass friends, to stop Krishna and Balaram from taking the fruits. And so he came and kicked Balaram, and then Balaram grabbed his feet and twirled him around and threw him on the top of a tree. And he died. And all his other demon friends that came as asses, and Krishna and Balaram twirled him by the hind feet and threw him on trees. And some of those trees crashed down, but all those demons were different colors, so they looked like clouds, colored clouds in the trees. Anyway, the point is, they're all playing and they're massaging Krishna's feet and fanning him, but they're not thinking of Krishna as God. They're just, Krishna kills all these demons, how nice, and they're fanning him. He must have worked hard. Krishnara Prayasi Braje Jatagopigan Charapara Duli Kore Udava Prartan Jasavar Upare Krishnara Priyanahiyan Tahara Apanake Kore Dashyabhiman. Even the beloved girlfriends of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, the gopis, the dust of whose feet was desired by Sri Uddhava, and who are more dear to Krishna than anyone else, regard themselves as Krishna's maidservants. So they're Krishna's lovers, and sometimes they scold Krishna. Sometimes they scold Krishna. When Krishna, they come to see Krishna to dance in the middle of the night because they hear his flute. But Krishna tells them, you should not be here in the forest in the nighttime. You should go back to your houses. And then they scold Krishna. We are attracted by your flute. Why do you talk like this? And then, so they scold Krishna, but they still consider themselves to be Krishna's maidservants, not out of duty, but out of a sense of love. Brajan Janardan Vira Yoshitam Nitya Janas Maya Vam Sana Smita Bhajasake Bhavat Kinkari Smano Jula Rahananam Charudarshaya. O Lord, remover of the afflictions of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, O hero of all women, O Lord who destroy the pride of your devotees by your sweet, gentle smile. O friend, we are your maidservants. Please fulfill our desires and show us your attractive lotus face. Please fulfill our desires and show us your attractive lotus face. This verse, in connection with the rasa dance of Krishna with the gopis, is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam. When Krishna disappeared from his companions in the course of dancing, the gopis sang like this in separation from Krishna. Apibatam madhu puryam arya putro dunaste smarati sa pitri deham somya bandhum shagopan kvachi api sakatam na kinkarinam grinite pujam aguru sukandam murdni adashat karanu. O Uddhava, it is indeed regrettable that Krishna resides in Mathura. Does he remember his father's household affairs and his friends, the cowherd boys? O great soul, does he ever talk about us, his maidservants? When will he lay on our heads his aguru-scented hand? This verse appears in Srimad Bhagavatam in the section known as the Brahmara Gita. When Uddhava came to Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani, in complete separation from Krishna, sang like this. So this is the Brahmara Gita, the song of the bumblebee. That's when they're talking like this. And especially Radharani. Does he ever remember us? Because Krishna left and went to Mathura. Does he still remember us? Like that. Tasavar kata rahu shrimata tasavar kata rahu shrimati radhika sabahoite sakalam she bharama adhika tehod jaradasi hoina sevana charan jara prema gune Krishna bada anukan. But to speak of the other gopis, even Sri Radhika, who in every respect is the most elevated of them all, and who has bound Sri Krishna forever by her loving attributes, serves his feet as his maidservant. So everyone's thinking of Krishna as his servant, but not out of sense of duty, but out of intense love. Nata Ramana Prishta Kwashi Mahabhuja Dashaste Kripanaya me Dashaste Kripanaya me Sake Darshaya Sanidim. O my Lord, O my husband, O most dearly beloved, O mighty armed Lord, where are you? Where are you? O my friend, reveal yourself to your maidservant, who is very much aggrieved by your absence. This verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam. When the rasa dance was going on in full swing, Krishna left all the gopis and took only Srimati Radharani with him. At that time, all the gopis lamented, and Srimati Radharani, being proud of her position, requested Krishna to carry her wherever he liked. Then Krishna immediately disappeared from the scene, and Srimati Radharani began to lament. Dharakate Rukmini Adi Jatika Mahishi Daharo Apanate Mane Krishnadasi. And Dwarkadam, all the queens, headed by Rukmini, also consider themselves maidservants of Lord Krishna. What's up?
I'm going to use the restroom quick.
Huh?
I have to use the restroom.
You have to what?
Use the restroom real fast.
Dwarkadam, all the queens. Dharakate Rukmini Jatika Mahishi Taharo Apanate Mane Krishnadasi. And Dwarkadam, all the queens headed by Rukmini, also consider themselves maidservants of Lord Krishna. Chayyaya Marpaitum Ujjata Karmakeshu Rajas Vajaya Bhata Sekari Tangri Renu Ninye Mrigendra Iva Bhagam Ajavayata Tat Tatstri Niketa Charanostu Mama Charanaya. When Jarasandha and other kings, bows and arrows upraised, stood ready to deliver me in charity to Shishupal, he forcibly took me from their midst as a lion takes its share of goats and sheep. The dust of his lotus feet is therefore the crown of unconquerable soldiers. May those lotus feet, which are the shelter of the goddess of fortune, be the object of my worship. So Rukmini was supposed to be getting married to Shishupal. She wrote a letter to Krishna, and Krishna came and kidnapped her. When Jarasandha and other kings, bows and arrows upraised, stood ready to deliver me in charity to Shishupal, he forcibly took me from their midst, as a lion takes its share of goats and sheep. The dust of his lotus feet is therefore the crown of unconquerable soldiers. May those lotus feet, which are the shelter of the goddess of fortune, be the object of my worship. This verse in Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Queen Rukmini. Tapas charantim agyaya swapara sparshanash shaya sakyo petya grahipanim saham tad grihamarjani. Knowing me to be performing austerities with the desire to touch his feet, he came with his friend Arjuna and accepted my hand. Yet I am but a maidservant engaged in sweeping the floor of the house of Sri Krishna. Like the previous verse, this verse appears in Srimad Bhagavatam in connection with the meeting of the family ladies of the Kuru and Yadu dynasties at Samanta Panchaka. At that time of that meeting, the queen of Krishna named Kalindi spoke to Draupadi in this way. Atmara Masya Tashema Vayam Bhai Griha Dashikaha Sarva Sangha Nivrityada Tapasa Cha Bahuvima. Through austerity and through renunciation of all attachments, we have become maidservants in the home of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is satisfied in himself. During the same incident, this verse quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken to Draupadi by a queen of Krishna named Lakshmana. Aneyati Katha Baladeva Mahashai Jarabhava Shuddha Saka Vatsal Jarimoy. What to speak of others, even Lord Baladev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is full of emotions like pure friendship and paternal love. Although Lord Baladev appeared before the birth of Lord Krishna and is therefore Krishna's worshipable elder brother, he used to act as Krishna's eternal servitor. In the spiritual sky, all the Vaikuntha planets are predominated by the quadruple expansions of Krishna, known as the Chaturvyuha. They are direct expansions from Baladev. It is the singularity of the Supreme Lord that everyone in the spiritual sky thinks himself a servitor of the Lord. According to social convention, one may be superior to Krishna, but factually everyone engages in his service. Therefore, in the spiritual sky or the material sky, in all the different planets, no one is able to supersede Lord Krishna and demand service from him. On the contrary, everyone engages in the service of Lord Krishna. As such, the more a person engages in the service of the Lord, the more he is important, and conversely, the more one is bereft of the transcendental service of Krishna, the more he invites the bad fortune of material contamination. In the material world, although materialists want to become one with God or compete with God, everyone directly or indirectly engages in the service of the Lord. The more one is forgetful of the service of Krishna, the more is considered to be dying. Therefore, when one develops pure Krishna consciousness, he immediately develops his eternal servitorship to Krishna. Teho apanake koran dasha bhavan Krishna dasha Maha-Vishnu Achekon Jana. He who considers himself the servant of Lord Krishna. He also, Baladev, he also considers himself the servant of Lord Krishna. Indeed, who is there who does not have this conception of being a servant of Lord Krishna? Sahasravarane Jeho, Shesha Sangharshan, Dasha Deho Dore Kore, Krishna Sevan. He who is Sesha, Shankarshan, he who is Sesha, Shankarshan, with his thousands of mouths, serves Sri Krishna by assuming 10 forms. Ananda Brahmande Rudra, Sadashivar Amsha, Gunavatara Tehos, Sarva Deva Avatamsha. Rudra, or Shiva, who is an expansion of Sadashiva, and who appears, Rudra, who is an expansion of Sadashiva, and who appears in unlimited universes, is also a Gunavatar, qualitative incarnation, and it is the ornament of all the demigods in the endless universes. There are 11 expansions of Rudra, or Lord Shiva. They are as follows. Ajay Kapat, Ahid, Bradna, Ajay. There are 11 expansions of Rudra, Lord Shiva. They are as follows. Ajay Kapat, Ahid, Bradna, Virupaksha, Raivata, Hara, Bahurupa, Deva Shreshta, Trayambaka, Savitra, Jayanta, Pinaki, and Aparajita. Besides these expansions, there are 8 forms of Rudra called earth, water, fire, air, sky, the sun, the moon, and Soma Yaji. Generally, all those Rudras have 5 faces, 3 eyes, and 10 arms. Sometimes it is found that Rudra is compared to Brahma and considered a living entity, but when Rudra is explained to be a partial expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is compared to Sesha. Lord Shiva is therefore simultaneously an expansion of Lord Vishnu, and in his capacity for annihilating the creation, one of the living entities. As an expansion of Lord Vishnu is called Hara, and he is transcendental to the material qualities. But when he is in touch with Tamogun, he appears contaminated by the material modes of nature. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam and the Brahma Samhita. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, it is stated that Lord Rudra is always associated with the material nature when she is in the neutral, unmanifested stage. But when the modes of material nature are agitated, and he associates with material nature from a distance, but when the modes of material nature are agitated, he associates with material nature from a distance. In the Brahma Samhita, the relationship between Vishnu and Lord Shiva is compared to that between milk and yogurt. Milk is converted into yogurt by certain additives, but although milk and yogurt have the same ingredients, they have different functions. Similarly, Lord Shiva is an expansion of Lord Vishnu, yet because of his taking part in the annihilation of the cosmic manifestation, he is considered to be changed like milk converted into yogurt. In the Puranas it is found that Shiva appears sometimes from the heads of Brahma and sometimes from the head of Vishnu. The annihilator, Rudra, is born from Shankarshan, and the ultimate fire to burn the whole creation. The annihilator, Rudra, is born from Shankarshan, and the ultimate fire to burn the whole creation. In the Vayu Purana, there is a description of Sadashiva in one of the Vaikuntha planets. That Sadashiva is a direct expansion of Lord Krishna's form for pastimes. It is said that Sadashiva, Lord Shambhu, is an expansion from the Sadashiva in the Vaikuntha planets, Lord Vishnu, and then that Sadashiva is a direct expansion of Lord Krishna's form for pastimes. it is said that Sadashiva, Lord Shambhu, was an expansion of the Sadashiva and the Vaikuntha planets, Lord Vishnu, and that his consort, Mahamaya, is an expansion of Ramadevi or Lakshmi. Mahamaya is the origin or birthplace of material nature. So, Lord Shiva in the Brahma Samhita is compared to milk is converted by an agent, like a yogurt agent, into milk is converted into yogurt. So milk and yogurt can be said, yogurt can be converted from milk, but yogurt cannot be converted into milk. Milk can be converted into yogurt, but yogurt cannot be converted into milk. So Lord Shiva is an expansion of Vishnu, but still he is not qualitatively equal to Vishnu. Teho Koren Krishna Dasha Pratyash Nirantara Kohe Shiva Mohi Krishnadas. He also desires, Shiva also desires to be a servant of Lord Krishna. Sri Sadashiva always says, I am a servant of Lord Krishna. Krishna Premi Mata Vivala Digambar Krishna Guna Lila Gai Nacha Nirantar. Intoxicated by ecstatic love for Lord Krishna, he becomes overwhelmed and incessantly dances without clothing and sings about Lord Krishna's qualities and pastimes. Pita Mata Guru Saka Baba Kene Noi Krishna Premer Swabhabe Dasha Baba Se Karai. All the emotions, whether those of father, mother, teacher, or friend, are full of sentiments of servitude. That is the nature of love of Krishna. Ek Krishna Sarvas Savior Jagat Ishwar Arajata Savatara Seva Kanuchar. Lord Krishna, the one master and the Lord of the universe, is worthy of being served by everyone. Indeed, everyone is but a servant of his servants. Say Krishna Vatirna Chaitanya Ishwar Adevara Sab Tahara Kinkar. That same Lord Krishna has descended as Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of God. Everyone, therefore, is his servant. Kehomane Kehon Namane Savataradash Jenamane Tarahoy Se Papenash. Some accept him where others do not, yet everyone is his servant. One who does not accept him, however, will be ruined by his sinful activities. When a living entity forgets his constitutional position, he prepares himself to be an enjoyer of the material resources. Sometimes he is also misguided by the thought that service to the Supreme Personality of God is not absolute engagement. In other words, he thinks that there are many other engagements for a living entity besides the service of the Lord. Such a foolish person does not know that in any position he either directly or indirectly engages in activities of service to the Supreme Lord. Actually, if a person does not engage in the service of the Lord, all inauspicious activities encumber him, because service to the Supreme Lord, Lord Chaitanya, is the constitutional position of the infinitesimal living entities. Because the living entity is infinitesimal, this allurement of material enjoyment attracts him, and he tries to enjoy matter, forgetting his constitutional position. But when his dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened, he no longer engages in the service of matter, but engages in the service of the Lord. In other words, when one is forgetful of his constitutional position, he appears in the position of the Lord of material nature. Even at that time, he remains a servant of the Supreme Lord, but in an unqualified or contaminated state. So when one forgets one is a servant of the Lord, one thinks he's the master of the material nature. But he remains a servant of the Lord, but he's in a contaminated or forgetful, fallen position. Chaitanya Radashamui, Chaitanya Radas, Chaitanya Radashamui, Tara Dasharadash. I am a servant of Lord Chaitanya, a servant of Lord Chaitanya. I am a servant of Lord Chaitanya and a servant of his servants. Eta Bolina Chigai, Yukara, Gambir, Kanake, Kaneke, Vasila Acharya, Hoy Shushtir. Saying this, Adwaita Prabhu dances and loudly sings. Then at the next moment, he quietly sits down. Bhaktaviman Mula Sri Balarame Sebave Anugata Tara Amshadvane. The source of the sentiment of servitude is indeed Lord Balaram. The plenary expansions who follow him are all influenced by that ecstasy. Okay, tomorrow I'll continue. Now I'm going to stop here. We'll sing Hare Krishna. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramans Paramajaka Acharya Ashtatara Sadashishi Mahan Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramans Paramajaka Acharya Ashtatara Sadashishi Mahan Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Paravajaka Acharya Ashtatara Sadashishi Mahan Srila Bhakti Rakshita Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Ragana Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Ragana Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Pranasi Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Adwaita Acharya Shri Vasudeva Shri Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Ki Jai. Janardan Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Vishwabharanya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Kusham Ashram Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Tilak Nireh Maharaj Ki Jai. Nanda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Srila Ram Ki Jai. Srila Mayapur Ki Jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Sri Kaladev Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Shyam Kuna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai. Shri Purushottam Madam Ki Jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Jo Ki Jai. Vinashaya Shrina Shringadev Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande
Vivo.
Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Sri Janmastami Ali
Adivas.
Huh?
Adivas.
Adivas Ki Jai.
Jai.
Sri Janmastami Adivas Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande
Haribo.